All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, we've got quite the fight going down on August the 19th. It's part of LFA 139, a bantamweight bout between Teshay Gouthro and Arnold Jimenez, and very happy to be having Teshay back on the show and getting some insights ahead of another big fight. How's everything going, man? It seems like you were, pretty immersed in the training and just, finishing off a lot of the hard work today from what you were saying just before we kind of started the call.
Yeah, just finishing off morning training. It's Monday, so all the boys were in doing some hard wrestling. I just came in to do some technique, and then me and my boy Cody done some just tech work, just moving around, touching, game planning, and finishing up the game plan, really, and finishing up the day. Just one session on fight week today.
And you say Cody, is that Cody Chavanchuk? Is that who you were kind of working with there?
Yep, that's my boy. 3-0 right now. Yeah, I put in my most work with him, to be honest. I look at him as a better version of my opponent I have right now, which was perfect. So, yeah, we're getting in that work.
Yeah, and you say a better version. Do you mean in terms of, has similar, I guess, stylistic attributes? Is it more of a similar body type kind of thing? Where do the similarities kind of lie in that sense?
Both, to be honest. Cody switches stances often. Style-wise, very similar. This guy that I'm fighting on Friday is all around really good, and I think Cody's better than him everywhere. More powerful, explosive, athletic, high fight IQ, and yeah, it gives me good looks. He studies my opponents all the time and tries to give me the good looks that my opponent's going to give me, but really, this guy switches stances often, and so does Cody, so we didn't really have to change much.
Yeah, and in terms of things changing and having to adapt and whatnot, I was disappointed to see that even for you, that the last fight kind of didn't end up panning out, and just kind of what happened with all that. But it seemed like there was a contract signed and a turnaround relatively quickly. It didn't seem like there was much, quote unquote downtime in a sense. When did this bout offer initially come your way? Because it seems like the management team was really on the ball with that.
Yeah, the last one sucked, man. I was pissed. But it is what it is, and that's the fight game. This was literally the day after, right when I found out about the fight. Well, actually, I think we were talking about this. I was trying to get back right after. This was the game plan. It was I was gonna finish that guy and then go right to the LFA. That was the game plan. So right when I found out the fight was off, I was just message LFA now, see what they got for opponents. They sent me a list. We ended up taking this guy, and he ended up signing. So now we got to fight.
Yeah, and was this someone you had a level of awareness of prior to the bout being announced? You're talking about seeing similarities in your sparring partner, and obviously that would be hugely beneficial in this one. But I guess prior to the bout agreement being locked down and everything, were you aware of what Arnold brought to the table or his previous efforts?
Yeah, before I decided to sign the contract with anyone, I always watched my opponent. I was only able to find one fight on this guy, the LFA, but it was his last fight, so that was okay. I just needed that last fight. It was 3 rounds. Well, 3 in a minute. 2 in a minute. And then, yeah, I just watched him. I watched him. I thought it was a good opportunity. Good fight for me. Yeah, so I was down.
Yeah, it would seem like a good opponent just in the sense of some of his experience, which is kind of similar to yours as well. Just some of the magnitude of the circuits, King of the Cage, I was noticing he was on previously, but also just being that he's got a 6-fight winning streak. I would think beating an opponent like that would be a good feather in your cap at this juncture.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. The LFA, I'm coming back, right? And the first time, short notice. So it's kind of short notice, too, within a month, but definitely more time to prepare, and coming off of camp too, which is nice. But yeah, that was my first and only loss was LFA, and this guy's 8-2, so it's a big step up. Trains with a solid fucking team, and he's about it. This is a big one for me. I'm just gonna fucking go out there and dust him, though. That's the game plan. That's always the game plan. But I'm really happy that this is a big one. So let the world know what I'm about.
That's interesting. You mentioned the previous LFA loss, which at this point is the only loss in your pro MMA career. Like, is there a certain redemptive kind of component to this fight beyond the immediate matchup, like just kind of getting like one done under the LFA banner? Is there like a redemption-minded aspect here at all?
Yeah, it's definitely redemption. Like I already told, right after my loss, I went up to the CEO of LFA and I was like, yo, I'll be back, trust me. I'm like, on a full camp, you're going to see beautiful violence. And he was always down, and then I was booked for them earlier in February, and then injury popped up, so now I'm back and I'm actually going to show them what's up. And I'd like to put on a beautiful performance, and if they could sign me for like 3-fight contract, if not, and fucking I'll just keep it on, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. Good to be adaptable and fluid in that kind of sense. But in the last fight there with Chris Desanel and the lead up to that, you were kind of talking and you were saying that he was being disrespectful and certain things like that. And I know you were saying the game plan is to always get out there and dust the opponent. I would think there's not that similar kind of, I guess, banter dynamic to this fight here. I guess my question is, like, does something like that embolden the performance at all? Like, just like when the guy kind of talks a little smack and you can get out there and kind of smack him around, as it were? Or is it kind of just inconsequential, largely?
So like, what you're saying is if he's talking shit, I go there and like smash him?
Yeah, just because the last fight with Chris Desanel, it seemed like you were talking about how disrespectful he was, and it's like, oh, he's going to catch it. Like, he's been talking some trash. It's like, does that embolden it? I mean, obviously you want to like have an impressive performance either way, but does it add a certain component to it, like a certain level of compounded motivation, or is the banter or lack thereof kind of irrelevant?
No, the banter definitely helped me, made me more motivated, made me want to take more time with him and put him away slowly, just to fucking let him know and hurt him and talk to him. And yeah, this guy, I'm still like, anyone, you sign that contract, I'm still coming in, take your head off, I'm probably still going to talk to you. It's probably all the same, it just gives me a little more motivation. Like, I'm still going to take this guy out, like this, just out. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, a great platform to be able to do that on and stuff like that. I mean, not that you're unfamiliar with the platform, just the previous LFA experience and CFFC as well, but I imagine still a cool component to it just in terms of like the visibility and, I mean, ideally want to have as many eyes on the performances as possible.
Yeah, 100%. Like I wasn't even going to take that last fight for Cage Wars just because it wasn't on Fight Pass. And, like, they're known, but they're not really known. Like, they're known putting on amateur shows, and then Chris Desanel, he just has no name, and it wouldn't have brought me much value to smack his ass up, but it would have been fun doing it, and it was just another W to get on my record, but this one's way bigger. Like, this was the plan, and then that one popped up, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take this one, dust this guy, and then right on LFA. But, I like fighting on UFC Fight Pass, the exposure, and LFA's the fuck, and that's the step. I'm pretty, like, if you get enough wins on there, you're going to UFC. That's really it. That's what I've seen throughout the years.
Oh yeah, well, certainly puts you in a very, good position to be able to do that. And yeah, I mean, one of the more known kind of circuits, like I feel like LFA has been like a big feeder league to the UFC for quite a period of time, and that's always seemed to be your broader kind of goal there, getting on that UFC platform and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I imagine you wouldn't be averse to some other, like, quote-unquote bigger kind of platforms, but I would feel like UFC is, like, your primary focus.
Yeah. No, you're right. UFC is the goal. That's, like, if Bellator ever hit me up and threw some nice money at me, I wouldn't be upset at that, Because I don't have to stay with them, right? It's just I think it's 3-fight, 4-fight contract with them. Go in mind, but the goal is UFC. So that's what I'm going to keep in mind.
Yeah, I was going to say that wouldn't be bad at all. Get a couple, like, Niagara top team lads out there racking up the dubs, just in the context of Aaron Jeffrey coming off that Austin Vanderford win there.
Yeah, brother, that was beautiful. You see that shit? That was, I lost my mind. I'm like, that is so motivating, because I know AJ, like, we've been boys since, the Moderate Vision days, if you ever heard of that gym, but that's, like, way back, so watching him do what he did on 9 days' notice on Bellator against fucking Austin, it was beautiful. And put us on the map. Like, on the map.
Yeah, it's funny you shouted out Modern Vision. I actually got to briefly talk to Aaron in, like, the post-fight press conference kind of situation, and I referenced that because he was talking about how he's like, oh, I don't feel like I really get quite the respect in Tilsonburg, but I was asking him, I'm like, oh, well, you started training at Modern Vision. Do you get the respect out in Welland, Ontario there? So, I mean, didn't necessarily think I was going to ask you this, but pose the same. Do you get the respect in Welland, Ontario? Do you get the localized Niagara support, like when you go in empty bellies and all?
That's crazy. People, the fans, and just growing up here, and because like when people, I grew up in Welland, and I grew up a fat kid, right? We've talked about this, but it's like now people realize, like, I used to say this when I was like 240 pounds, grade 9, just a little fat kid, that I was going to be in the UFC, and people fucking, even a fighter, people just didn't pay me no mind, look down upon me, talk bare shit, and just, so now when, like, I see all the love, like, it's love, but it's a lot of, like, it's love and it's hate, right? People fucking love to hate, you know what I mean? Like, they love that I did it, and some people hate that I did it, you know what I mean? So it's interesting. But, yeah, after the fight, I'm going to go out. What's nice is, like, I don't even have to pay for a drink, because it is respect, putting a fucking Welland on the map. Because what is Welland? Welland's just a shithole. A bunch of people that fucking grow up drinking, doing drugs, selling drugs, and fighting. But I took all that negativity and put it into focus, and now I'm doing what I'm doing.
So would you say, like, because you were talking about at one point of, like, kind of having, like, a body type where people are like, oh, you're going to be in the UFC, but, like, was that broader goal kind of what kept you away from that trouble you were talking about? Like, just that goal of having a mixed martial arts kind of journey, did that keep you outside of, like, what you're talking about, some of, like, the drugs and just general, I guess, chicanery and all?
Yeah and no. Because, like, I was hustling when I was a kid, too, myself. I was fighting. I was still in the shit, but I never got too deep to where I couldn't, like, I always had in my mind where if I ever get caught, I guess, and I get charged, I'm not able to go to the States. And that was, like, my biggest thing. And then, like, even when I started fighting, I was still fucking around with, like, some of the homies, and, like, people were deep in it. But no, the goal was always UFC and MMA, so it just kept me out of, I guess, getting caught and getting too deep in it and knowing when to get out. And then I did, and fucking now I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, man. It's been a great story for sure, no doubt. And looking forward to seeing the next chapter of that story kind of unfurl here. I guess I'm wondering, like, who is going to be accompanying you for this one corner-wise? Like, are we thinking maybe Chris Prickett and Lyndon Whitlock, or who's going to be in the corner?
Chris Prickett and DeMarc Antonio. Matt DeMarc Antonio. And I might have Cody in my corner. I'm going to have him in the back working with me. But it's either going to be Cody or Jake, my manager. But most likely Cody, just because he's my homie and it's what we do.
Yeah, I feel like that would be beneficial for his own individual career arc, too. Just, like, cornering you on, like, a bigger show and just getting the general, I guess, atmosphere of it. Is that, I mean, obviously he's, like, a talented fighter, so you want the advice in the corner in real time. But is that component also kind of part of it, just, like, kind of grooming him more in his own career?
That, and he just knows me the best. Like, we're literally every practice, it's me and him, morning to night, 2 times a day. We're always talking, strategizing. He studies my opponents. I study his opponents. He probably knows me better than my coaches, to be honest, just because, like, we're fucking 20, like, all the time, just talking, working, getting better, developing as, like, he's my boy. Like, he's one of the only ones in the gym. Like, there's a lot of fighters, but, I mean, me and him, when he's fighting, I have no stress, because I know he's a killer. And same with me, when I'm fighting, he has no stress, because he knows we're about it. And we will step in, and when shit gets rough, we smile and step in even harder.
Yeah, I love that dynamic there, and he's also very promising in his own career and everything like that. So cool to see just, like, the great team that, you know, NTT has always been, but just, like, the broader awareness. It's really good to see, you know, you guys getting your roses and everything like that. Definitely one of the bigger gyms just really in North America, if we're being honest. But always fun getting to talk to you, man, and I do want to be mindful of the rest of your... Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, pardon?
Oh, I was just saying thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just a great story. Like, you guys started from relatively kind of humble beginnings, at least location wise, and now just through your individual efforts within the collective, it's like one of the bigger gyms in the country. It must be, I mean, I was going to say surreal, but maybe just you talk about the belief in yourself before, maybe it's something that you yourself always kind of saw manifesting one day.
Yeah, we actually always talk about it. We're just talking about, we had our old jiu-jitsu coach come in Sunday, Ray Steele, and he was there from like way early, like the dungeon days. And he's like, man, this is like, he was reminding me how crazy and how far we've came so quick and how the team's exploded. I'm like, yeah, but like thinking about it, we've all had this dream and we have manifested it back. Like, there was just a small group of us, and now like AJ and Jazz and everyone and Romero, everyone's just doing it, and we're here, and I've been saying it for years that we're coming, but now we're here.
Yeah, it's great to see, man. I definitely enjoy it from my perspective. You got to have those kind of gyms. I mean, just even for the, broader Canadian scene there, just inspiring people and stuff like that. But always fun getting to chop it up with you, man. I do want to be mindful of your time, though, and everything like that. So is there maybe anything you might want to add as like a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, man?
Friday, 9 p.m., LFA, UFC Fight Pass, NTT, me, Alex Moore, Luke the Duke. Let's go, NTT. We're coming 3-0. I'm putting on a fucking highlight. Like, either tune in or come Seneca Casino right across the border, but it's gonna be fireworks, violent, beautiful performance, and we're gonna put the world on notice once again.
Yeah, it's going to be an incredible fight, and just looking forward to this LFA 139 card. And yeah, people can check that out, like you said, on UFC Fight Pass. And just, yeah, appreciate you always coming on the show and giving great insights, man. You enjoy the rest of your day, and appreciate you making a bit of time to talk on Fight Week here.
Always, brother. I still remember after my debut, you're the first one to interview me. Fucking throwback. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, BTC 6, that Burlington thing, I always enjoy those shows and stuff like that, and they've done just a lot of great stuff for the scene there. But yeah, no, it's been a cool journey there for sure, man, and just, yeah, always down to talk to you ahead of these big fights, and appreciate you reciprocating and all, and just, yeah, you have a good rest of your day, man.
You too, brother. Take care.